Today, we're looking at a conflict that's happening, well, literally thousands of miles above us.
But the consequences are being felt right down here on the streets.
Exactly. We're talking about a high-stakes, very technical battle between one of the world's most advanced private satellite networks, Starlink, and a nation-state, Iran, that's trying to enforce an information blackout.
And this isn't just about tech. It's really a fusion of technology and, real politic.
It is. So for this deep dive, our sources are a mix of technical reports, geopolitical analysis, and they even get into some of the surprising political figures involved.
Yeah, that Trump-Musk connection is something else. But what we really want to unpack is how this all works. You have state-sponsored military jammers on one side.
And on the other, you have these rapid-fire software solutions designed to just defeat them.
So I guess the mission for us today is to answer a really fundamental question for you.
Right. How does a private company, a global company, fight back against organized state-level censorship? And what does that fight mean for the people actually on the ground?
Well, to really get a handle on this, you first have to understand what makes Starlink so different. It's not just another internet provider.
No, it's a totally different architecture. I mean, traditional internet relies on ground infrastructure, right? Cables, towers.
Stuff a government can easily control. Or just, pull the plug on.
But Starlink bypasses all of that. It's a direct line.
It is. And the sheer scale is what gives it this political power. We're talking about a network of over 9,000 satellites.
9,000.
Yeah, in low Earth orbit. And that constellation allows people to communicate from remote places or, and this is the key part, in defiance of their own governments.
Right, and that gets to what Clayton Swope was saying from the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
He put it perfectly. He said Starlink has the unique ability to keep people connected when their governments don't want them to be.
Which is a huge shift in the balance of power. For protesters in Iran who are facing these coordinated shutdowns, it becomes a lifeline.
A lifeline, exactly. For organizing, for confirming people are safe, and maybe most importantly, for getting evidence out.
And that brings us to the human stakes. Why is this so crucial right now?
Because when communication fails, the consequences are, well, they're severe. Our sources confirm that rights groups report hundreds of demonstrators have been killed in Iran since 1979.
So in that kind of environment, reliable communication isn't a luxury.
No, it's a matter of survival.
And this technical fight translates directly into these life and death situations. It's gotten so serious that our sources say the U.S. administration is weighing its response.
Up to and including potential military options if things escalate. And that right there tells you how much Starlink has changed the game.
A commercial service is now directly tied to U.S. strategic interests.
It's incredible. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. How does a nation-state like Iran even begin to disrupt 9,000 satellites? You can't just, build a wall in space.
So what's the strategy?
It's all about brute force in the radio frequency spectrum. The main tool's jamming. And they do it periodically.
So, like, during a key protest moment, they just flood the airwaves.
Exactly. Using very sophisticated military-grade jamming tools.
So left to find jamming for a second, how does that actually work?
Okay, think of it like this. Your Starlink dish is trying to listen for a very specific, quiet conversation. That's the data signal.
Okay.
The jammers are like someone turning on a giant, powerful speaker right next to you, just blasting static on that exact same frequency. It completely drowns out the real signal.
It just turns the data into noise.
Unusable noise. And our sources point out their targeting is very strategic.
It's not just a blanket shutdown.
No, not at all. An executive director at the nonprofit Holistic Resilience, Ahmad Ahmadian, he noted that the regime has focused its latest attacks on the upload data.
The upload. So they're not trying to stop people from getting news.
They're trying to stop people from sending video, images, and reports out of Iran.
That's the bottleneck.
It is. The goal is to make it impossible to transmit content. If you can't get that high-resolution video of a protest out, the story effectively stops.
And this has a knock-on effect, right? Kimberly Burke from Quilty Space noted it's degraded Iran's overall internet quality.
So on one side, you have this powerful, hardware-based interference, traditional military tech.
And on the other, you have this distributed satellite network. This is where the cat-mouse game begins.
This is where it gets really clever. The defense isn't hardware. It's code.
So talk us through that. How do you fight physical interference with software?
Through rapid, iterative updates. A group called Nashet, which helps Iranians get connected, reported that Starlink's technical team was able to, and the word they used was ameliorate the jamming.
Ameliorate. Okay, let's pause on that word. What does that actually mean here?
Well, it means to make the effects less severe. So instead of just trying to shout over the noise, the software update can do things like frequency hopping
Constantly changing the channel, basically.
so fast that the ground-based jammer just can't keep up. Or it could adjust the power levels, try to punch through the interference. The point is, the software is fluid.
While the hardware, the jammers, they're static.
Exactly. The jammers are fixed in place. Starlink's code can be rewritten and deployed globally almost instantly. This means the regime has to constantly reanalyze, retune, maybe even physically move their expensive hardware.
Which is slow. And it gives the protesters these critical windows of connectivity.
Right. It shows that the advantage goes to whoever can iterate the fastest.
But Iran isn't just fighting with technology, they're also fighting on, the diplomatic front.
Yes, they're trying to use international bureaucracy as a weapon. The Foreign Ministry accused the U.S. of meddling, and more formally, they filed a case with the ITU.
The International Telecommunication Union, for anyone who doesn't know, what is that?
They're basically the UN agency that acts as a global traffic cop for the airwaves.
Yeah.
So by filing a case, Iran is trying to argue that Starlink is illegally infringing on its sovereign frequencies.
Trying to get the ITU to force Starlink to shut down service over Iran.
That's the hope, yes.
Okay, so we've got the tech battle, the diplomatic battle, but let's pivot to the really unusual political backdrop here, because this situation led to some pretty unprecedented alliances.
This is where the story gets really dramatic. We're talking about the Trump-Musk rapprochement.
Right.
Our sources detail that former President Trump actually appealed directly to Elon Musk to intervene in Iran. He saw this private company as the most effective tool available.
And this was after their relationship had, I think the term was spectacularly imploded just months earlier.
Yes. So the situation in Iran was serious enough to bridge this huge political and personal gap. It just speaks volumes about Starlink's utility.
When a former president sees a CEO as a more effective foreign policy tool than, traditional statecraft, that's a new world.
It really is. Trump apparently told Musk, we may get the internet going. We may speak to Elon because, as you know, he's very good at that kind of thing.
Wow. That's a direct acknowledgement of private infrastructure as a key tool of foreign policy.
And this isn't an isolated incident for Starlink. If you connect the dots, you see this pattern.
We saw it in Ukraine, first and foremost.
It was absolutely critical to their defense against the Russian invasion. It kept their command and control online.
So we see this pattern. Starlink steps into these politically charged vacuums, usually on the side of, information access.
Absolutely. The sources also point to Venezuela. Starlink deployed free service there, and it was described as a gesture in support of the people of Venezuela.
So it's not just a tech company anymore, it's an active geopolitical player.
And Musk himself has leaned into that. I mean, famously tweeting defiance at governments trying to block Starlink. I think it was about Afghanistan, he said.
They can shake their fist at the sky.
Exactly. And that sentiment really captures this whole conflict we've been unpacking.
So to synthesize this for you, what our deep dive really shows is this modern intersection of military tech, private enterprise, and fundamental human rights.
And what's so fascinating is that the technical battle is won or lost, not with big physical hardware, but with speed, with iteration. A software update becomes the crucial weapon.
A weapon that can make incredibly expensive military-grade jamming hardware pretty much useless, at least until the other side can catch up.
Yeah, and that really changes the dynamic of power, shifts it toward agility, and away from those traditional physical tools of censorship.
Which leaves you with a pretty important question to think about. If a private company can just keep pushing software updates to negate the effects of a nation-state's military hardware, does this mark the end of a government's ability to enforce complete digital sovereignty over its own borders?
Especially borders that only exist in the invisible world of radio frequencies.
Something for you to chew on. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.